Hey guys, welcome. We're in my office. I wanted to film out here this morning because it's a bit warm this week and the back part of the house gets pretty hot, or at least the plant room, so I didn't want to film in there this morning. So there are crystals behind me instead of plants this time. So today we're going to be doing a root rot rescue on a philodendron. So I just want to give you a quick background of how I ended up with this plant and when I purchased it. I did purchase it knowing that it had root rot, and I'll tell you exactly how that happened. I was in the garden center at Lowe's, you know how we do, browsing around the plant section. So I came around the corner and this was just like glowing on the shelf. It was like so bright. It was like this, the variegation of it was just a clean, bright white. And it was just so beautiful. I was immediately drawn to it. So I went over there and I thought, oh, you know what? I would love to have a Birkin. So I plucked it up, and as soon as I picked it up, I saw it was all like wobbly in the pot. It was actually like barely hanging in the pot. Like clearly it had problems. And you know, it was one of those situations where you can look right at the soil and you're like, ooh, this is pretty dense and wet and soggy. And it was just like basically torture to the plant. I just felt so bad at the idea of putting it down and just walking away and leaving it there to die. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to take you home and we're going to try to see if we can do some surgery on you and help you out there. So that's how I ended up with this Birkin. I just felt really bad, really guilty at the idea of just leaving it there to die, that I just couldn't. So I did purchase it, paid full price, checked out, and we came home straight away and went to work on it. And you're gonna see that right now. So I ended up getting it even though I knew that it had root rot, and actually right out in the parking lot of Lowe's. I was actually unpotting the plant in the parking lot of Lowe's on our tailgate, and we had a cardboard box from Costco, and I just dumped all the old soil into there so I could check out the roots and also let them dry out a little bit because the soil was soaked. And now we're gonna go ahead and go rinse it and see exactly how bad the damage is and see if we have any roots left to work with. But anyway, that is our goal today, is to try to rescue this beautiful Birkin. I wanted to give it a chance and no one else was getting it, so I thought, you know, it's now or never. We better give it a shot and see what we can do with it. We'll try to wash off as much soil as we can, just so we can see what's going on with it. All right, let's see what we've got here. I'm just gonna spread out the roots, and we're looking for healthy roots. There's still some soil on here, but it's close enough where we can at least get an idea of what's going on here. Like, ooh, look at that one. Oh, that is like, look at that. Okay, so you know you got root rot when you got all of this sheath here that just peels away. And what you're looking at is the little core of the root. So that is some major root rot there. So we're just gonna clean it up, and any of that stuff we're gonna get rid of. So, and we're gonna trim it too. So what we're looking for is any healthy roots, but you can see all that is just peeling away. So most of those are gonna have to get trimmed away. So we're gonna be doing a lot of trimming. So I've got my nippers and some rubbing alcohol. I'm just gonna spray and sterilize my nippers with the alcohol. Let's just cut right into that and see what we've got. Yeah, it's, so when you trim a root, if you're not sure about it, just look in the core of it. If it looks brown, then it's no good. Yeah, most of those are gonna have, it's pretty much gonna have to restart, I think. I'm just looking to see if there's anything we got to work with here. That one, cut right out of there. So this is a little baby plant that has started on the side of the mother plant, and it put out a little root trying to save itself probably. But we're gonna have to snip that because it's got the rot too. We're just gonna clean all those off. Actually, you can pull most of those off. Are those strands or those? Yeah, those are strands. That whole thing's gonna have to, okay, let's see what's happening at the base of that. I'm just gonna trim back most of these roots. I'm gonna trim off these little, something that happens is the little hair roots actually will start dying off first. So the smallest roots, the finer ones, because they have a really hard time handling too much moisture around them. And if they can't get to any oxygen, then they die off pretty quickly. And then it's the bigger roots. I mean, there's not much that you can really save on there, you know, at this stage of the root rot.
I'm gonna get a complete haircut. Leave one.
Yeah. Pretty
so
absurd,
look at that before
huh?
and after. That's something else.
So we still got some little strings on there. I'm trying to watch out for these little, see these little tiny baby leaves? Mm-hmm. Those are so cute. Okay,
So you're
that
just
one.
gonna put this in a water?
Yeah, we're gonna
filtered
reroot it in water, and I may leave that one and see if it does anything, maybe just for an experiment. And if it doesn't do anything, or if it starts looking bad, then I'll just trim that right off. But just for an experiment, I'll leave that on and see if it puts out any new root hairs.
One little thing.
I know. It's just such a pretty one, you know, and it's okay. We'll probably be able to save it. I'm not sure what's happening with that one. I guess I could leave that one for now and just see. We're gonna do a hydrogen and water mixture. So I don't measure this, I just, you know, take a guess there. Put in about that much, about an inch, inch and a half.
About
And
25
then,
millimeters?
yeah. And then fill it up a little more with water. Let's see if this is deep enough for it. If I need to add more, I can.
And what does the peroxide do?
Peroxide is just for open wounds,
Oh.
so it can help clean any of the open cuts. The idea is just to get any of those open cuts and the wounds that we made when we were trimming the roots. We just want to get those in the mixture.
Does this bubble like when you pour it on an open wound on a person?
Yeah, you can see the bubbles in there, but because it is diluted, you know, it was like
right.
about
It's
one
not pure.
third, one third hydrogen peroxide to about 2/3 water is what we did this time. But you don't have to measure exactly. Okay, our treatment's done. I'm gonna go dump out our hydrogen peroxide and water mixture, and we're gonna refill this with regular water. I've got a vase I think should work for it, so we're gonna fill it with water, and I'm using just regular filtered water. And hopefully this should fit the plant. I can just kind of wedge it in there. And so that's perfect just to have about, you know, 2 inches under there. So any nodes that are higher up there, if they want to come out, then they can make it out into the water. So I just made a place on my desk, and I'm just gonna leave this here under the grow light, and I'll check back in a couple of weeks. All right guys, we got the Philodendron Birkin here. It's a couple of weeks later, and I was actually surprised to see that it has a brand new leaf that's just starting to unfurl here. This is the last one that it just unfurled when actually that was right around the time that we were doing the root rot treatment. And it's been putting out roots slowly in water. So it does have some good little root starts going all the way around it. And I noticed that it seems to be putting out roots like even from the very bottom there. See that little one? So right from the very bottom or base of the stem. So it's got little bitty roots all over starting, and I just want to get it into water sooner because I feel like this one, I'm getting the sense that it's sensitive to rot, and I don't know how well it actually grows in water, but I figured let's go ahead and take it out while we're ahead, and we're going to go ahead and pot this up. I'm going to be potting it in a fairly small pot. This is about 4.5, well, about 5 inches. And for soil, I'm going to be potting it into the regular aeroid soil mix that I always use. This is kind of like my standard mix here. So I have cocoa chips and husk fiber, and then also pumice. There's a bunch of pumice in here, some charcoal. There's probably a little bit of worm castings. Normally I throw a handful in this and just kind of mix it up when I'm mixing everything else. And let's see, oh, there is potting soil in here. Probably only like about, I don't know, maybe 30%, maybe 25% potting soil, but it's a very light, airy mix. And I am going to do an update too and let you guys know how this plant is doing. So this is not going to be the last clip you see in this video. We'll see if that leaf unfurls and see if everything is okay after we pot it up. Let's get it a little bit deeper there. I don't want to pot it too deep, but I want to make sure it will be stable in there because there's not going to be a whole lot to hold it upright. And I'll check in with you guys in a couple of weeks, and we'll just see if this leaf has unfurled, make sure everything looks like it's on the right track. All right, let's get a little more soil in this side. Okay, I'm going to take this to the sink, water it, and then I will check in with you guys and do another update as soon as I see any changes with the plant, like if this leaf continues to unfurl, okay. So we'll see if the roots start to take to the soil, and I will update you guys in a couple of weeks. All right, guys, I want to give you an update on the Birkin, and look at this beautiful new leaf it's put out. Look at that, it's huge and it is beautifully heart-shaped. I just love it, and it's so fresh. It's still hardening off, so it just recently unfurled. And I wanted to wait before I did an update to have some kind of signs of growth up top here above the soil line. But definitely, like after, let's see, it's been 7 weeks since we potted this up. And it took about 3 weeks for it to really grab onto the soil really nicely and tightly. So it's definitely well rooted in there now. So I watered it about once every 4 days, and just enough to keep the soil moist, like keep some moisture in the soil at all times. I did not let it go dry while it was rooting in there, but also I didn't want to drown it, knowing that this plant is sensitive to overwatering and that the plant itself holds a lot of water. I just wanted to get those roots, those new roots kind of activated. So that's why I wanted to keep the pot moist. So basically we did frequent but light watering, and I think that was really the key to allow those roots to get established and grow out, but at the same time not be so overwhelmed and end up with root rot again. I think that might be one of the tips for a lot of plants, actually, because we don't normally tend to think about the amount of water. Normally it's about, you know, we're focused on the frequency of waterings, right? And especially when we're using a really chunky, airy mix, more frequent but lighter waterings I think can help out our plants a lot and really make those roots very strong, because they get enough oxygen and airflow, but at the same time they're getting plenty of access to water. Okay guys, it's been a few days since that last update, and it has a caterpillar with a brand new leaf inside there. I just took a peek in there and I was so happy to see another leaf coming out so soon after I put out this one, because typically Birkins are, you know, they tend to be slower growers. But it seems to be doing well and pretty happy, and I'm really glad that I ended up bringing it home and did not leave it in the dark, dingy lows. It was inside, you know, in that wet, soggy soil. That was definitely going to be a death sentence for it, and it didn't have much longer to live in there. So I'm glad we brought it home and gave it a second chance at life. It is so nice and sturdy in that pot, even though we use super chunky soil. It just really seems to love a lot of air to the roots. And let's see, what else did I notice about this plant? I think I already mentioned that I water it smaller amounts, but regularly. So I'm very consistent with the watering, and that really seemed to help the new roots, like, you know, grow. It helped like to activate them and also to really grip in there good. So they seem to be pretty happy with the ratio of moisture versus the oxygen that the roots are getting. Something else I noticed was the Birkin doesn't seem to attract pests, which I was really grateful for, because I did have some spider mites, you know, moving through my plant room a couple of times, and no one got onto the Birkin, like no one was interested in it. So yeah, it didn't have any problems with spider mites or pests, so it was pretty sturdy, even though it was like in the process of being stressed and trying to recover. So I was very grateful for that. I showed you guys the lighting that it's in already, right? So it's under the Spider Farmer light, and it's also just below my window, which that area does get a little bit hot. I'm thinking of maybe moving it to a cooler spot where it'll still be under the Spider Farmer light, but it'll be maybe on my desk or something instead in there, because the heat, it can really cook that wall, and it'll brown your tips of your plants if your plants get overheated like that, no matter how much you're watering. Like, it can just be too extreme for the plant's tissues to be able to stand, and it'll just burn them. So it does have a little bit of leaf burn there, so I think that's why I might pull it away from there. I hope you guys find this video helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or reach out to me on Instagram. I always do my best to get back to you. All right guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video, which I'm gonna get to work on right after this. Love you guys, bye.